What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Boss Brackets. My name is Denton, and today we are going to be going ahead and trying to make this snow just like this on this canvas we have here. We're going to try to animate this using some JavaScript. So first, I'm going to go ahead and just close out of this. To get started, I have an index.html file, a CSS file, as well as a script file for JavaScript. First thing I'm going to do is go into my index.html. I have a very basic layout in here of an HTML document, which this tutorial is not going to be on HTML, so I already have some in there, but this is basically the very basic setup of it. You got your title, your link to a style sheet, and your link to your script. The only thing I'm adding in here is a canvas tag, which is what we're going to be drawing our snow on. Awesome. Next thing we're going to do is I jump right here into my style.css. I got a little bit of style in here as well. I got margin padding set to 0. That's going to be my defaults. And then our body width and height is going to be 100% of the viewport width and 100% of the viewport height. Next, we're going to go right here into our script.js file, where we're going to be putting the bulk of our code into here to make our snow animate on the canvas. So I already got some code written in here as well, already. I'll just go and walk through this real quickly. This is pretty standard for any canvas drawing you're going to do. But this is what you have right here. You have a variable up here called context. You can call it whatever you want. I just call it context. What this does is we use a query selector for our document to get our canvas, which we defined right here in our script, HTML. And we apply a method or call a method on it, get context, and we pass in 2D. And what this does is, if we go here to our index.html and open that with live server, we can go ahead and inspect this and go into our console and type in context. And here we get this variable here, which has everything we could use for our drawing. Right here we see this object in here called canvas, and this is what we're going to be mostly using. Right here we have things in here like, let's see. All the way to the bottom, we're going to be using the width, we're going to be using the height, which is somewhere in here. But yeah, those are all the variables we're going to be using. So that's basically what the context means, is it allows you to get variables, functions, and different things that go along with that canvas. And we store them all in this object called context. And we're going to be go ahead and using that later, just like this. Next, we declared another object called screen. We put 4 properties in there: x, y, width, and height. Our x value is 0, our y value is 0, our width goes all the way to the size of our window, and our height is the size of our height of our window. Pretty simple. Right here we set those values to it, like I was talking about earlier. We have context.canvas.width. So that's that width value is talking about it, and we set it to our object's width right up here, and as well as our height. Finally, we make an infinite loop right here called loop, and we just basically use this request animation frame to call that loop whenever the browser is ready to do another animation frame, call another animation frame. And then we just throw it down here to call our loop, which you could as very well do loop just like this, if you like. What we're going to do next now is start making our snow class. So to make this, what I'm going to do is make a class, and I'm just going to call this snowflake. Okay, so I'm going to make a class snowflake, and then I'm going to make a bunch of objects and put them into an array called snow. How convenient, right? First thing we're going to do is called constructor, and we're going to first put in here a few values. For our snowflake, I'm just going to make them little circles, as we saw in that other example. There's just a bunch of circles. So for a circle, we're going to need a radius. We're going to need an x value and a y value to put it somewhere on the screen. We're going to need a velocity of where those snowflakes are going, and we're going to need a color, to which color to draw the snowflakes. First thing we're going to go ahead and do is, you may have seen this before, this dot radius equals radius. So we're going to do this for all of these, and I'll tell you what this does in a minute. But we just go ahead and do this for every single one. And what this does is this allows you to take these values that are put in the constructor when you instantiate the object, because an object is an instance of a class. It takes that parameter and puts it into our class so that we can use it within our class to use different functions, and so we can incorporate them in there and use them, versus just calling that variable, because that can confuse it with other things in our program, global variables, things like that. So this makes it very private to our class. Let's see what else we need. We need velocity, and we need color. Awesome. That is pretty much the constructor right there. That's everything we're going to need. And finally, we're going to need, not finally, but one of the functions we're going to need is draw. And this is going to draw our snowflakes, because we need to be able to draw our snowflakes. So basically, we'll make a quick function here. We're going to be using our context again. Context.begin path. What that's going to do is it's going to allow us to draw a shape. Versus square and everything, you don't need that because it just needs x, y, width, and height. But for a circle, we're going to be drawing a path starting at one angle, drawing around that path, and making our circle. Context.arc. So this is the shape we're going to be making. It's actually a 360-degree arc. But in our arc, it calls for some values, for some parameters. So we're just going to pass in this.x instead of just passing in x, because that could be a global variable. This.x. This.y is what it's asked for next, and then asks for a radius. So we're just going to do this.radius. Then it asks for a start angle, which we're just going to say math.pi times 0. Which you could just put 0 if you want. I'm just going to do math.pi times 0 because it makes a little bit more sense when you do math.pi times 2. So we start at 0 degrees, we come around the circle, 360 degrees, which in geometry you may have learned is pi or 2 pi radians, but that basically draws our circle. So we've drawn the arc. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to fill that arc with color. So we're just going to go ahead and say context.fill style is going to be equal to this.radius. Awesome. Oh no, whoa, this.radius, I'm sorry, this.color. This.fill style is equal to this.color. So now we've defined the fill style, but now we got to fill it. So context.fill. That simple. And that'll be done with that begin path. Perfect. And here, real quickly, we're going to go and draw our sky before we start drawing our snowflakes. Context.fill style, again, because we need to define a new fill style. And our sky is going to be black. We're going to do a dark night sky. And context.fill, fill rect. Fill rect. So instead of saying, you could do just rect and then fill it later. We're just going to do fill rect. And that'll go ahead and combine both of them into one. 0, 0, we're just going to say screen.x because we want to draw our screen, draw on our screen. Screen.y, screen.width, so screen.width, and finally screen.height. Awesome. So now if we go over here to our web page here and refresh, you can see that we got a nice dark background where we can draw our snowflakes on finally. Actually, before we do that, we have to actually create our snowflakes. So here we've defined the blueprint, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create them. So we're going to make a simple for loop. The variable I, like usual. I is going to be less than, we'll just say 1,000 snowflakes. And you can make a variable here later to tweak that easily. We'll just say 1,000 snowflakes. I plus plus, or increment to increment that value. Now here we're going to define the values for our snowflake itself. So here for the things in our constructor here. So we're going to need radius, we're going to need x, y, velocity, and color. So let x, we're going to say, we're going to set that equal to, well, let's actually do a radius first so we can kind of stay in the same order. Let radius equal math.random times 2 plus 2. Or we'll say times 3 plus 3. So what this will do is math.random it will return a value from 0 to 1. That'll return value anywhere from 0 to 1. And then we multiply that by 3. So if it was 1, returned 1, you get 3. Add 3 to that, you're going to get a max value of 6. If you got 0 from that function, so 0 times 3 is going to equal 0, plus 3, that's going to give you a value of 3. So we're getting a value anywhere from 3 to 6 is what we want our radius to be, which is pixels. So if we get 6, it's going to actually be a 12 pixels diameter. So that's going to be how big our snowflake is going to be. We're going to define our x value and let x is going to be equal to, we're going to use that random value again, math.random, and that is going to be multiplied, if I can type this correctly, by our screen.width. So our width value goes all the way from the beginning of our screen right here on my mouse all the way to the end. So it's going to find a value anywhere random into there, which is what we want. Next, we're actually going to do the same exact thing, but for height, so for y. So we have a radius, x and y, and that defines the value anywhere from the top to the bottom of our screen. We got radius, we got x and our y, now we need velocity. So velocity. This is going to be a little bit different because velocity has an x and y velocity. So we're actually going to create an object here. Velocity x, we're going to actually set that equal to math.random. We're going to be doing a lot of randomizing in here. Math.random, we want that to be anywhere from negative. It can even be, we actually want it to be a negative value. Here's the reason why. Because if you have a negative velocity, we want the snowflakes to go this way as well, versus a positive velocity go that way. So we want it to be a negative and positive velocity. We don't want to differentiate too far, so we're probably going to want maybe a max of -3 to velocity and a max of +3 to velocity. So to do that is we're going to multiply it by 6 and subtract half of that. So what that'll do is we have math.random times 6 minus 3. That'll give you a max value of 3. If math.random returns 0, multiply by 6, you'll get 0. Subtract 3, you'll get a minimum value of -3. Now we're going to go ahead and define our y value, math.random. My goodness, it keeps wanting to do radius, and it's kind of annoying. I rely on the IntelliSense a lot. Math.random, we actually do not want this to be negative because snowflakes don't go up. They always go down. So we do want that to go down. So math.random times 3. That'll be our falling velocity. And we do not need a semicolon there, but we will at the end of our object right there. Awesome. We got a radius, x, y, and velocity. The last thing we're missing is our color. So we'll just say let color equal, and we need to do double quotes, or you can even do single quotes if you like. But we need to put in quotes, and we're going to do RGBA. And right here, we're going to go and put in our values. And since snowflakes are white, 255, 255, and 255. And if you don't know what that means, RGB stands for red, green, and blue. So the first value, it stands for R. That's the amount of red. Max value is 255. Lowest value is 0. So if you put all of them, every single one, red plus green plus blue, you're going to get a max value, or you're going to get white. That's the color you're going to get. If you do all 0, you're going to get 0, or you're going to get black. The last value, A, is our opacity. So we're going to go ahead and change that. We can put that to 0. You won't even see the snowflake. It won't even matter to us, the stuff we wrote. But we're going to go ahead and put that to a math.random, our random value. So we're just going to use right here, math.random times, actually we're not going to multiply by anything, so it gives you a value from 0 to 1, and that's what the base value is anyway. Awesome, now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and create a quick array up here. I'm just going to say let snow equal an empty array. Snow is going to, we're going to push in these objects 1,000 times. We're going to push in 1,000 objects. Snow.push new snowflake. And now here's where we're going to put in our values. So radius, x, y, velocity, and color. Awesome. And that'll go ahead and add all those new things into our array. If we jump back over here to our web page and go into console and we type in snow, you can see we have 1,000 objects in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and open up the first one, and you can see that we have our color, our radius, our X and Y velocity, and our X and Y positions down here. That's everything that we need to make our snowflake. Now we're going to go ahead and call that draw function right here in our main loop after we have drawn the background. See, we want to do that first, because if you draw your snowflake first, you won't be able to see it because you'll be drawing the snowflake and then it'll slap the background right on top of it. So you want to draw the background and then you want to put your snowflake right on top. It's kind of like the Z index on CSS, but for JavaScript, just the order of things you draw. Awesome, so we need to go ahead and loop through our array of snowflakes. So array of snow, so let I equal 0, while I is less than snow.length, I plus plus, and then right here, we're gonna go ahead and just say snow at that specific index dot draw. Now we got to jump over to our web page, and bam, you can see our snowflakes have been drawn on our canvas, which is perfect. Exactly what we want. But now we need to go ahead and start making them fall. What we're going to do here is we need to add a function up here, as I was talking about earlier. We need to go ahead and make a fall function. And what we're going to put in here is we just need to add our velocity to those x values. So this dot x plus equals this dot velocity dot x, and this dot y plus equals this dot velocity dot y. Awesome. So let's go ahead. That draws and falls. Perfect. Exactly what we want. And now right here, we're just going to say snow at that index dot fall. And now if we go to our web page, you can see our snowflakes are falling exactly how we want them. But actually, I am noticing here that some of our snowflakes can have a 0 velocity, which we define that here when we just said, okay, velocity is 0 times 3 in essence. That's the lowest you can get is 0. So actually what we're going to want to do is 2 plus 2 or so, and that'll go ahead and, oh my goodness. Yeah, that seems like it's moving pretty fast, but you get the point. So let's go ahead and do 4, do 2, we'll do 1, or we'll just do that. There we go. So that seems like it's falling nice and softly. But as you can see, we're not getting any more snow falling. That's because once our snow falls, it's still falling, but you just don't see it anymore because our screen's locked up here. They're still falling, there's below our screen. So what we want to do is we want to make a little if statement or conditional to see that once they hit the bottom, to respawn them right there at the top. And there's a few ways you can do that. But we're going to go ahead and do it the way so here's the thing. When it hits the bottom, what you can do is you can set it to new snowflake object and just reset it to the top. Or what you can do is you can go ahead and just reset that x value or that y value up to the top of the screen and just have it fall again and redo its course. So to do that, we're just going to say if snow at index I dot y minus snow index I dot radius is greater than or equal to screen dot height. Now I'll explain why I did subtract the radius, because the x and y is relative to the middle of the snowflake, the middle of that circle. So that's where we're seeing it, in the middle of that circle. So in order to make sure it doesn't look like it just glitched off the page, we want to make sure that snowflake is completely well off the page before it respawns back up at the top. So we just go ahead and subtract the radius so that that circle, once it goes below the screen minus that radius, once it goes below, then it respawns back at the top. So now we're going to go ahead and just say snow at index I dot y equals 0 snow at that index dot radius. And what that'll do is it'll just take the 0 of the screen minus the radius of the circle so that it doesn't look glitched at the top of the page either. If we go ahead and refresh, we can see that our snowflakes are now falling gradually down, and it's beautiful. Now we need to add one more conditional here, and that is because our snowflakes are going off the sides of the page and they're not coming back in. So we need to go ahead and make sure that they don't that they stay inside our column. So to do that, we can actually do this a few ways, but what I'm going to do is basically just copy and paste this here. If this dot x, we'll say plus snow.radius is less than or equal to 0, or snow at that index dot x is greater than or equal, x minus the snow at that index dot radius is greater than or equal to screen dot width. Awesome. So that'll go ahead and define, or to check to see if it's hit this side or this side. And if it's hit either this side or that side, all we want to do is simply reverse that velocity. Snow at index x, or snow at index I dot velocity dot x times equals -1. Then I'll go ahead and just reverse that velocity. We go refresh our page. Looks like we have a quick error. We'll go ahead and just go to the console. P is not defined, line 62. Let's see. P is not defined. Oh, is less than 0. Okay, there we go. So now we're seeing our snow fall nice and gradually. Perfect. That's exactly the way we want it. I think it looks good. I think we got snow falling. I think it looks great. You can go ahead and tweak these values as much as you want. Like right here, we have 1,000 snowflakes being drawn. You can change it to 500 easily, or 5,000 if you wanted. That would probably crash your browser. Who knows? Whoops. There we go. So maybe it's not as clustered. You know, you got snow falling nice and gradually. You can even slow that down a little bit. It kind of looks like it's falling a little bit fast, so you can just, 0.5. Maybe the x's are moving a little bit too fast, so you can just say 2 - 1. Now it's falling a little bit slower, like, it's nice midnight, twilight, whatever, snow falling. Perfect. I don't know. Awesome. That's everything I got. That's the web page. It's all done. Glad you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.